Hey guys and girls, Bored Now back with you. On this video I will be talking about episode 1 of the new Sky original thriller series, The Fear Index, episode 1 review. So full spoilers from the start of this review as always. So this is a new series which is going to be a 4-part drama. It's based on a Robert Harris novel, so quite a big name there for writing. He did like Manhunter, he did I think that Enigma, which they did a film on, so quite a few films have been based on his novels. So 4-part, as I said, thriller series, and quite a modern theme with the techno AI sort of angle behind it. Josh Hartnett is the big star of the project. Haven't seen him in anything for a while, so when I saw the trailers with him in and the sort of role he was playing, I wouldn't say I was overly excited, but I thought, okay, this could be something, it'll be interesting. It seems quite a good role for him. The premise isn't too bad. The premise is then he's like a professor, like a tech professor, and he's come up with this sort of a revolutionary sort of form of AI, which at the start of the drama they're on the eve of it launching, and that's where the Fear Index comes from. The title is then, as he explains at the end of the episode, it's like an algorithm which makes money based on fear, basically, people's fear. That's where the fear index comes from. So that's his great sort of like idea to make money for this company. And they're in France, and it's the day before the pitch, so there's this big pitch the next day, and I'll just say random shit starts to happen, basically, because he's at his house with his wife, his fancy sort of mansion, and things start to happen. So at one point he gets this really rare, expensive edition of a Darwin book. It's a book that he's wanted for a long time, and it turns out he can't find out who sent it to him. At first he thinks it's his wife. She says, no, I didn't buy you it. He then, I think, talks to someone he works with, or a colleague, or someone like that, a friend, and he thinks he's brought it. And actually, in one of the funnier lines of the episode, his friend says, what, a first edition? I would never pay that much, to get you a first edition, which I did get a little chuckle out of that line. So he can't figure out who sent him the book mysteriously, and then in the middle of the night he's awoken, and he thinks someone has broken in. Someone appears to him at one point at the window. Weird stuff sort of happening because the lights go on in the house. There's a boot randomly outside the door, which he doesn't know whose belongs to, how it got there, and that's sort of the mystery of it, exactly what's going on. And he sort of awakens later on, and the police have arrived, who he's called when he first thinks something's going on, and that's going to be the mystery, exactly what's going on and who was it. And it's sort of very psychological, and the idea is that things are going on which may, his imagination may or may not be sort of playing tricks on him, because one of the reveals at the end of the episode is then it appears as though there wasn't anyone there at all. Maybe not, because it seems as though the alarm system didn't really go off, so that appears to be something that's in his head, and that he sort of deactivated it himself. So there's a whole thing with them investigating it, and it's on the day of this AI launch, and a real dud of a pilot. It was really boring, I have to say, really dull. There wasn't a great deal of life to it. I think the direction was very on the nose. It's the sort of thing, because this is a Sky original one. I think part of the problem with it was then the budget wasn't really enough, or you didn't really have a good enough director to like really make it that sort of stylish or suspenseful, which this sort of twisty psychological thriller sort of has to be. And I think Josh Hartnett was miscast in it. I think he was really wooden at times. He did a sort of a Richard Gere style performance. A lot of blinking, a lot of twitching, but he was very wooden, like until the end of the episode. So I think he was miscast. I think you needed someone with a bit sharper reactions in the role, to react to the stuff that's going on and to like really act like surprised or like really aghast or frightened. He just doesn't quite have that range, and I think it's not the sort of role it's not the sort of bad boy roguish sort of role. Not at the moment. I think you got a bit more of that at the end of the episode where he was given this pitch and he was doing this speech to really push this technology. At one point the character's like getting a brain scan because of what happened, and I think maybe just to check if there is a brain in there. But yeah, it was a boring episode really. Not a great deal happened. It was, as I said, not a lot of style to it, not a lot of tension. And the characters were just pretty bland and forgettable and plodding, for something which maybe it's going to be quite satirical, potentially, about, technology and modern, like capitalism and things like that. There wasn't a lot of wit to it. I mean, maybe some of that's lost from the book, maybe the book had a lot more of that, and maybe it's the sort of thing where the book, this is an idea that works much better in a book and is just very bad, very hard to adapt. Or it might just be that then it's then this is a bad version of it. So far it's a dud. I really didn't find this first episode very compelling to watch. One or two lines were quite amusing, and it ended with a little bit more intrigue. Like, I did enjoy the scene with the pitch and with a little bit of like the reveal of he turned the alarm system off himself. It was sort of in his head, but I think it will maybe live and die on the reveals, like how interesting they are, because I think that's where it could perk up a little bit. But at the moment I think it's the sort of thing where it just seems a bit standard and like mundane, where I think there's a good chance then it's going to be something like, oh, it's all in his head, or the AI did it, because that's what crossed my mind with the book, is then because of the theme of AI and algorithms, I'm sort of guessing maybe the algorithm found out that he really wanted the book, and so it sort of like sent it to him, because later on he tries to track down the order and he's told then, hey, you ordered it, you sent an email, and he's struggling to find out what exactly happened. So that's certainly a theory, but then also with stuff going on like, well, it's in his head and stuff, or certain parts of it appear so it might be in his head, then I think there's a good chance then it could all just be some sort of an illusion, or it could just be all part of like an AI, like simulated sort of, well, they could go down that route if they're exploring this idea, and I'm not sure how satisfying that would be. I guess it depends how they did it, but it just seems like maybe a bit of a standard sort of twist, but it's always how you do it, because a lot of twists are, you've sort of seen them before, or a version of it, so it's how you do it. But at the moment I'm sort of assuming that then it's going to turn out to be something like that, so it does seem very sort of standard. There's also the stuff with the book that he's obviously been reading, the Darwin book, and one of the like strange events is then he appears, like the character who appeared to him at his house is in the Darwin book. He remembers him from the book, so that again could lead to this idea of this is like a simulated sort of world or something like that, or it could just be as simple as he's unbalanced, it's all in his head. But hopefully there's going to be some sort of big twists and turns and reveals to make this a bit more lifelike, because at the moment it's a real dud. I didn't get very much out of it at all, and I think, as I said, Hartnett is really miscast, and that's a problem because obviously he needs to hold this thing together. So far a bit of a nothing drama, but it may well perk up. I think I'll do at least episode 2 and hope it perks up. But that's me for now. If you've seen episode 1 of the Fear Index, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll be back with more reviews soon. Thanks guys, see you later.